Prophet ﷺ said this to Shaddad ibn Aws radiallahu anhu at the time when Masjid Al Aqsa was not in the control of Muslims. It was in the control of Romans. Like if you imagine, and if somebody tells you right now that inshallah be patient, Masjid Al Aqsa will go back to its rightful owners and back to the Muslims. You're like, what, Israeli armies all over Muslims and they're so powerful, they have this, they have that, how is it possible? Well, the Prophet ﷺ said that to Shaddad ibn Aws radiallahu anhu when Romans were controlling Masjid Al Aqsa. But then there came a time. So zulm and oppression is something that doesn't last for that long. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala zalimon ko ta'khir dete hai, lekin Allah always takes, returns it back to its rightful owner. So it's just a moment of having sabr and patience. So that is as an introduction also. And virtues of visiting Al-Aqsa, we all know कि मक्कातुल मुकर्रमा, मदीनतुल मुनव्वरा और मस्जिद अल-अक़सा में जो नमाज पढ़ी जाती है वो बहुत सारे, it's multiplied by, multiple folds, 500 to 5,000, and then in Madinatul Munawwara 50,000 and 500,000. So this is the importance of visiting and keeping the Masjid Al-Aqsa and the virtues of Masjid Al-Aqsa in mind. Before I get to the slide, I want to mention just one thing, is that regarding Masjid Al-Aqsa, and I'm also going to be asking you questions. मैं आपको सवाल पूछूंगा, तो it's not just a bayan, but it's just अगर आपको जवाब है तो आप inshallah feel free to say. Masjid Al-Aqsa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about Masjid Al-Aqsa in which surah of the Quran? Which ayah? The first ayah, yes, Hafizah. Surah Isra की पहली आयत सुब्हान الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله. So Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, Prophet ﷺ, we all know the story. मैं इशारतन मैं बात करूँगा because we don't have much time to go in detail. तो आप inshallah pay attention because I'm not going to go in much detail. الذي باركنا حوله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that we bless not only Masjid Al-Aqsa but everything around it. Right? Not only the neighborhoods around Masjid Al-Aqsa, but also the countries surrounding Masjid Al-Aqsa is very blessed. Very blessed what? Spiritually. Because I mentioned in the beginning, Ibn Abbas spoke that Masjid Al-Aqsa is the place of living for Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, and it's also the place of burial for Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. So in that sense, Masjid Al-Aqsa in the land of Palestine is very, very blessed spiritually. Right? So we know, as I mentioned, that there are many, many prophets that are buried, but also the countries surrounding Palestine. So which are the countries that are surrounding Palestine? Ek to Urdun hai, Jordan, right? Which other one? Egypt also. Then, or konsa? Syria is also there. Then, Lebanon is there. Then you go further down, Iraq and, Iran, so on and so forth. अगर आवाज में है तो बता दें. So these are the countries that are. So now, before we get to Masjid Al-Aqsa, for example, in Urdu, in Jordan, में बहुत सारे अंबिया अलैहिस्सलाम की कब्र है, बहुत सारे सहाबा की कब्र है. For example, अबू उबैदा इब्न जर्राह की कब्र, शुराहबील इब्न हसना की कब्र, मुआज़ इब्न जबल रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु की कब्र, सारी एक लाइन में, right? Every 5-10 minutes drive, you drive, all these Sahaba radiallahu anhu are buried. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, you enter into his, I had the opportunity to visit and do ziyarah. If you enter into the qabr of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, in general, all the Sahaba, the natural smell can be felt. Natural smell can be felt by all the Sahaba's qabr. Also, his son Abdurrahman ibn Jabal is also there. Then you go further down in Jordan is Ashab Kahf, the whole story of Surah Kahf. Right, and then Qabr of Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam on the border of Palestine and the border of Jordan is there. तो सारे अंबिया alayhi salatu wasalam की कब्र और सहाबा की कब्र वहाँ मौजूद है. That is how it is very blessed. الذي باركنا حوله. This is what it means. الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياته. Many other countries. Battle of Yarmouk, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas on the border of Syria. I had the opportunity to climb up the mountain, and then you can see on the border of Syria and Jordan, the Battle of Yarmouk, and the whole incident where Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he was sick, he was ill. Nonetheless, these are all the pages of history we can read. So this is what Alladhi Barakna Hawlahu means that this is Al-Ardul Muqaddasa. This is not just any other, San Francisco or Los Angeles or any other land. This is a very, very blessed country, and it is a very, very blessed land. And Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, they were desirous. उनका ये ख्वाब था कि वो वहाँ दफन हो, that they get buried there, कि उनका मकबर, उनका मस्कन, उनका मदफन वहाँ हो. इसीलिए you can see Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam, right, his father, and then all the way down to even the wish of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. उनका ये शौक और रग़बत थी कि I be buried around Palestine. Inshallah, we'll talk more about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. So moving on, when we talk about Masjid Al Aqsa, this is not just masjid that we're talking about, but masjid along with masjid which is in the front. So the front part of the masjid where it says Masjid Al-Qibli, that is the original masjid of Masjid Al-Aqsa. Lekin is sara compound, the entire square that you see, ye pura ka pura Masjid Al-Aqsa hai. तो ऐसा नहीं कि the hadith which mentions कि आप अगर यहाँ आगे नमाज पढ़ोगे तो ही आपको वो नमाज का सवाब मिलेगा और पीछे अगर नमाज पढ़ोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा. नहीं, ये wherever you pray, anywhere in the compound, anywhere you pray, your salah will be multiplied, which is mentioned in the hadith. So inshallah we'll go through this slide, which is very important. तो इब्न अब्बास रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु का भी और एक कौल है कि वमा मौदिउन इल्ला मशा फीही नबिय्युन, कि मस्जिद अल-अक़सा पूरा compound, there is not a place or there is not a inch of a space except that a prophet put his foot in this compound, right? So I'm going to start off with the Golden Dome, which is the most famous. We have all seen in the pictures and in the videos. Golden Dome was built by Abdul Malik bin Marwan. Abdul Malik bin Marwan, which is the Golden Dome that you can see right in the middle. The Dome of the Rock is known as the Dome of the Rock, but that's not Masjid Al-Aqsa. Masjid Al-Aqsa is Masjid Al-Qibli. So Golden Dome is just a picturesque area where people go there, and it's just, touristy place. Christians are also welcome, right? Jews are not welcome in there because they're protected by Israeli forces. They used to be welcome before, but then there was some looting that took place. They came into Masjid Al-Aqsa, they broke the windows, so on and so forth. This was before. So then after that, the Jewish tourists and the entire, the companies of tours being run by Jews, they're not allowed in there, but the Christians and the Muslims and the groups of Christians and Muslims, they come and they visit. So, सबसे पहले Dome of the Rock built by Abdul Malik bin Marwan. And right underneath that is the rock, which is a rock from Jannah. I'm going to mention that and show you the picture in the next slide. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the hadith, as-sakhratu min al-Jannah. हम सोचते हैं कि सिर्फ हजर अस्वद ही एक rock जो जन्नत से आया है, लेकिन below that, the Golden Dome of the Rock is also a rock from Jannah. So I'm going to mention that in the next slide. Dome of the Chain, which is a replica of the Golden Dome. So Abdul Malik bin Marwan, before he built it and before he constructed, he built a replica. He built a replica and then he built the original one. So that is the Golden Dome of the Rock. Okay, सवाल ये है कि तारीख में कौन सी what was the incident that took place from Dome of the Rock? कौन सा ये वाक़या हुआ तारीख में कि जो वहाँ से किस नबी को वहाँ शर्फ हासिल है कि वहाँ से ज़ियारत हुई और फिर वहाँ से आगे सफ़र हो? Anybody? What's the first ayah? Subhanalladhi asra bi abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi barakna hawlahu linuriyahu min ayatina. So this gives us a hint that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, al-Isra wal-Mi'raj took place from there. Golden Dome of the Rock is where Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj took place, and as I mentioned that below that is a rock from Jannah. Golden Dome is a place from which Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam ascended to the seven heavens. You understand? So that was the incident which took place in history. Then we'll come around the wall. So starting off from Moroccan gate, you see the Moroccan gate right here in the left corner? That's where Prophet ﷺ entered with Jibreel ﷺ in the night of Al-Isra wal Mi'raj. That is the entry gate. And when he entered, then he went along that wall, and then he went to the Golden Dome. And that's where he led Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala सारे अंबिया की रूहों को जमा किया और नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम वहाँ इमाम भी बने. So नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम became Imam al-Isra wal Mi'raj. So वहाँ यहाँ से दाखिल हुए थे Moroccan gate, and then he went down. And when you go from Moroccan gate, the next one is Masjid al-Buraq. Masjid al-Buraq is where he tied his Buraq. We know al-Isra wal Mi'raj, right? With Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam or Buraq bhi. So he tied Buraq over there. So then he tied the Buraq there, and when he tied the Buraq, then he entered from there and went towards the Golden Dome. So I'm going to explain that inshallah in the next slide. And as you come around from Golden Dome, the next one is throne of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, all the way to your right side in the top corner. That's where Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam वहाँ से जिन्नात जब मस्जिद अल अक्सा की तामीर कर रहे थे, तो सुलेमान अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम was observing, he was supervising the jinns building Masjid Al Aqsa. And Allah mentions in the Quran, فَلَمَّا خَرَّ تَبَيَّنَتِ الْجِنُّ أَنْ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ الْغَيْبَ مَا لَبِثُوا فِي الْعَذَابِ الْمُهِينِ. That for a long time, Sulaiman alayhisalatu wasalam was in a glass chamber, and he was monitoring Masjid Al Aqsa being built. And after some time, then when he fell down, he was eaten by white ants. And when he fell down, then the jinns, they realized تَبَيَّنَتِ الْجِنُّ أَنْ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ الْغَيْبَ مَا لَبِثُوا فِي الْعَذَابِ. Sulaiman alayhisalatu wasalam, he wafat away, he's passed away, he's not there. So that's how the construction of Masjid Al Aqsa was done. So then we come down, Golden Gate, Babur Rahma Cemetery. Babur Rahma Cemetery, which is on your right side over there, is where many Sahaba radiallahu anhum are buried. Many Sahaba radiallahu anhum are buried in Babur Rahma Cemetery, which is right along the wall right there. Or particularly Shaddad ibn Aus radiallahu anhu or Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhu ki bhi wahan qabr hai. Shaddad ibn Aus or Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhu is also buried there. Now this is the interior of Masjid Al Aqsa. जैसे दरवाजे से दाखिल होते हैं, so this is the picture from there कि इमाम आगे से नमाज पढ़ाते और ये पूरी मस्जिद अल अक्सा का ये मुसल्ला है. So Imam leads from the front, and this is a picture from the back. And you can see from the top those windows. Sometimes the Israeli police, they will come in, they will break the windows, especially in the month of Ramadan. And when they come in, they will come in with the shoes. Every night, Masjid Al Aqsa has to be closed, right? You can't say, okay, Isha is done now, 7:30, 8 o'clock Isha, now I have time, I'm going to read Quran for 1 hour. No, Quran पढ़ने की या वहाँ इबादत करने की इजाज़त नहीं है. नमाज के बाद Masjid Al Aqsa, they put the locks, they close it, and the final inspection every night is done by Israeli police. So Israeli police, they will come in, they will come in with their shoes. Masjid ka koi adam nahi hota, they will just walk in. If they feel like breaking anything, they will break in, and then they will continue. So if you see on top when you enter, you will see this window is broken, that window is broken, you can't really do anything about it. The only thing that you can do is make dua, inshallah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives Muslims the upper hand and the dhulm comes to an end. So next one, Masjid Al Aqsa or Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That right? Remember I mentioned Al Isra wal Mi'raj behind the Golden Dome. This is where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood, and he led Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam in prayers. So Allah gathered the soul of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the Imam, and from there all the Sahaba, all the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam stood behind him. And again, the statement of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, there is not an inch of space in the compound of Masjid Al Aqsa except that a Nabi has set their foot into that area. So this is a very blessed land. And also the dua of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, ne teen dua ki thi. Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam ne 3 duas. One was that, oh Allah, give me sound judgment, such a judgment that you have never given anybody before. So Allah accepted his dua. Then second dua of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, that Allah give me such a kingdom that you have never given before. So Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam was given a kingdom, he became the king. और third दुआ, तीसरी दुआ जो ये थी कि Allah जो भी इस मस्जिद अल-अक़सा में दाखिल हो उनके सारे गुनाह माफ कर दे. That Allah, not a single person who comes and prays in Masjid Al-Aqsa, except that all their sins are forgiven, just like how the mother gave birth, right? So all of our sins are forgiven when we enter into Masjid Al-Aqsa. With that niyyah and with that intention, we should go. MashaAllah, we go to Makkah al-Mukarramah, we go to Medina al-Munawwarah, and we should go. We go for Hajj and we go for Umrah, but we should also make it a point of going to Masjid Al-Aqsa. We should also make it a point of going to Masjid Al-Aqsa. If there is anything that you take from this presentation, is that after it's done, you should have a deep desire in your heart that as soon as it's safe to do so, as soon as the conflict finishes, I want to go. First thing first is I want to book my ticket and I want to go to Masjid Al-Aqsa. If you want to know how you book your ticket, you can ask me later on whether you want to fly from San Francisco directly to Tel Aviv or you want to go around Jordan or Turkey. That we can discuss later. But this should be your desire, inshallah, that I want, as soon as it's safe to do so, I want to visit Masjid Al-Aqsa. So dua of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. So as I was mentioning, the Buraq wall, that when you enter from Moroccan gate and you go down, remember I was telling you that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tied the Buraq. This is where the hook is to the right side, is where you believe that that's where the Buraq was tied. Buraq वहाँ पे tied up हुआ था, और in the middle is where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is Masjid Al-Buraq in the middle, where you saw the red stuff. This is Masjid Al-Buraq, which is a small masjid right next to Masjid Al-Aqsa. So this is Masjid Al-Aqsa, this is Masjid Al-Buraq. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered from Buraq, he tied up the Buraq here. This is the golden dome, and then he went around and he became the Imam there. And then these are the steps on the left side to go down Masjid Al-Buraq. Or below the golden dome, I was mentioning in the hadith that as-sakhratu min al-jannah, that the rock is from Jannah. ये जो पत्थर है जो जन्नत से आया हुआ है, और it has a very natural smell. So on the left side where you see the white marble, you can actually put your hand in there and you can rub that rock, and then you can get a natural smell, the smell of Jannah, mashallah. And the one on top where the green light is, the green light, it is mentioned, the locals mentioned, कि वहाँ नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का बाल है. There is a hair of Prophet सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, बाल मुबारक, लेकिन we weren't able to go there. There's no stairs to climb it up. But that's what the locals say, कि that's where the hair of Prophet सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम is. So this picture is right below the golden dome. Right below the golden dome, which was built by Abdul Malik bin Marwan. And the one on the right side is the stairs. Below the rock, you can go and namaz bhi par sakte ho. This is the overall picture of the compound of Masjid Al-Aqsa. So there's not just one entry gate, but there's many entry gates. You can enter from the Moroccan gate. ये Moroccan gate है. On the right side, Babul Rahma gate. वहाँ से भी आप दाखिल हो सकते हो. पीछे से Damascus gate, वहाँ से भी आप दाखिल हो सकते हो. आगे से नहीं, आगे से पूरा बंद है. From the front, it's completely closed. लेकिन there's about 4 entry gates. This is a history related to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. We know that Masjid Al-Aqsa is where the birth of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam is. So the one on the right side, you can see that the birthplace of Virgin Mary. So that's where Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam was born, across the street from Masjid Al-Aqsa. वहाँ Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam की विलादत हुई थी. And then from there, she used to cross the street and she used to go into Masjid Al-Aqsa. So it's very near, just across the street. Allah also mentioned the Quran in Surah Al-Imran. In Surah Al-Imran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى آدَمَ وَنُوحًا وَآلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَآلَ عِمْرَانَ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْضُهَا مِنْ بَعْضٍ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ إِذْ قَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ عِمْرَانَ رَبِّ إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي مُحَرَّرًا فَتَقَبَّلْ مِنِّي إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ. पूरा रुकू, पूरा पेज जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें पता चलता है कि मरियम अलैहि सलातु वस्सलाम के वालिद का नाम क्या था? What was the name of the father of Maryam अलैहि सलाम? इमरान अलैहि सलातु वस्सलाम. और मरियम अलैहि सलातु वस्सलाम की मदर, what was her name? उनका नाम क्या था? हन्ना अलैहि सलातु वस्सलाम. तो हन्ना अलैहिस्सलाम और इमरान अलैहिस्सलाम दोनों हस्बैंड और वाइफ थे. ओके, तो उन्होंने दुआ की मुहर्ररन फतक़ब्बल मिन्नी इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम फलम्मा वदअतहा क़ालत रब्बी इन्नी वदअतुहा उन्सा वल्लाहु अअलम बिमा वदअत. So जब when Maryam अलैहिस्सलाम was conceived by Hannah अलैहिस्सलाम mother, she was praying for a baby boy. When the birth was done, it was a baby girl. There was no sonography, there was no X-ray machine back in the day. So when the baby was born, it was a baby girl. So فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمَ وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gave her the name Maryam, and Allah said that the baby girl is not like a baby boy. So if somebody has a baby girl born, don't be depressed or don't be sad. That is actually a rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then she was given in the custody of the one who was taking care of Masjid Al Aqsa, the custodian of Masjid Al Aqsa. At that time, who was the custodian of Masjid Al Aqsa? Yes, Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam. Ahsan. So Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam was the custodian of Masjid Al Aqsa. Now Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam's wife was the khala of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam. So Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam ki jo mother ki sister thi, khala of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, was the wife of who? Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam. So she used to cross the street and she used to go and she used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there. Right? Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam had given a separate room, and you go and you do ibadah. So ye jo room tha, left side pe, was the place where she used to cross the street and she used to do ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam on the left side, whenever Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam went to visit Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, what does the Quran say? كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا Zakaria al-mihrab, that is the mihrab. وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا, he found unseasonal fruits. So he asked, where is this from? So she said, hiya min indillah, that Allah is the one who gave me. Inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab. Allah jisko chahe jitna de bighayri hisab de. So then after Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam, when he saw Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam having unseasonal fruits, then in his heart the desire came. What was the desire? That Allah, just as you gave Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam unseasonal fruits, you also give me a child. I don't have a baby, I don't have a child. जब अम्बिया अलैहिस्सलाम दुआ मांगते थे बच्चे की, तो नबूवत की दुआ मांगते थे. They weren't just making dua just for having the kids. लेकिन Allah, you give me बेटा ताकि मेरी ये progeny में, मेरी generation में नबूवत कायम रहे, नबूवत कायम रहे. इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम, then Ishaq अलैहिस्सलाम, then Yaqub अलैहिस्सलाम, and then Yusuf alayhi. So that the progeny and the nubuwah continues. So over there, what does the Quran say? فَنَادَتْ هُنَالِكَ دَعَا زَكَرِيَّا رَبَّهُ قَالَ رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً إِنَّكَ سَمِيعُ الدُّعَاءِ. तो अल्लाह ने जकरिया अलैहिस्सलाम की दुआ भी कबूल की. فَنَادَتْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ يُصَلِّي فِي الْمِحْرَابِ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُبَشِّرُكَ. Allah has accepted your dua and Allah will give you a son. What is the name of the son of Zakaria alayhi salam? Yes? Yahya. MashaAllah, Yahya alayhi salam. So, Anna Allah yubashiruka, that's why I stopped there, because the next one is, Anna Allah yubashiruka bi Yahya, musaddiqan bi kalimatin min Allahi wa sayyidan wa hasuran wa nabiyyan min as-salihin. So you see, the one on the right side is the mihrab of Zakaria alayhi salam. That's where he stood and he made the dua. Wahan khade hokar Zakaria alayhi salam ne dua ki. How do you know? Look at the ayat of the Quran all the way on top. All the way on top. It's hard to see, but when you zoom in, then you will find the ayat of the Quran. هُنَالِكَ دَعَا زَكَرِيَّا رَبَّهُ قَالَ رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً. So that is the history related to Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam, and all the verses. In general, the family of Imran alayhi salatu wasalam. Okay. Now, Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam conceives her son. Who's her son? Yes. Who's the son of Maryam alayhi salam? Isa alayhi salam. So So Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, when she became pregnant, when she felt that she was pregnant, she was on the left side, right here in the mihrab. But because she didn't have a husband, she was worried. Okay, the log tuhmat lagayenge. Okay, I didn't have a son, so now what did you do? And ya ukhta Harun, ma kana abuki ra'a sawin, wa ma kanat ummuki baghiya, all that stuff. So she started walking when the whole incident of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam came and spoke to Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam. She conceived, and then she said, "Log tuhmat lagayenge, to main yahan se nikal jati hu." So she left Masjid Al Aqsa and she started walking. Who? Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam. She started walking and she felt the intense labor pain. She felt intense labor pain, and then she gave birth to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam under a tree. Under a tree. Allah mentions that in Surah Maryam, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. Now when she left from here and she went to the tree, what is the distance? In that intense labor pain, she walked 9 miles. How many miles? 9 miles. So, yeah, this is where on the right side was the tree, where she walked from Masjid Al Aqsa from here, all the way till the one on the right side, and she gave birth to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam there. And look at the one on the left side. What does that say? Birthplace of Jesus, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. That's where Isa alayhi salatu wasalam was born. Church of the Nativity and the pilgrimage route. So this is a pilgrimage for the Christians. They come and they do pilgrimage. And the tree was there, but bid'at ki wajah se, or they removed the tree. So even the Christians, they used to come and they used to do bid'ah. We think that the bid'ah is only in Islam. The bid'ah is also in Christianity. They used to come and they used to do all sorts of things. So because of that, the tree was taken out. Now the one on the right side where you see the star all the way on the bottom, that's where the trunk of the tree was. That's وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ. So now the Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, when she sat under the tree, then فَقُولِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّ عَيْنَا فَإِمَّا تَرَيِنَّ مِنَ الْبَشَرِ أَحَدًا فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. The whole story, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to give you just a few points to think about it, and isharatan I will talk about it because we don't have much time in detail to go in detail, but that's where she sat and she ate and she drank, and the branches of the tree came down and she ate khajur and dates, so on and so forth, and she felt energized. She felt energized. Then she picked up Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, और उसके बाद she went back to Masjid Al Aqsa. She went back to Masjid Al Aqsa, and then the whole conversation between her and the people, again they put tuhmat. Nonetheless, interesting thing is ये जो जगह का नाम है, this जगह का नाम is Bethlehem. What is it? Bethlehem. Now in Arabic, house is bayt. Laham in Arabic is meat. So the historians mention that Baytul Laham became Bethlehem. Baytul Laham became Bethlehem. It is possible in history that people in this area were Kasai. Kasai means that the butchers, there were a lot of people who were doing the meat business. That's why this Baytul Laham became Bethlehem. That's just side point if you're interested in history. This area across Masjid Al Aqsa, you go down 5 minutes, 15 minutes walking, 5 minutes car ride, is Church of Nativity. This is the area Isa alayhi salam ने यहाँ अपनी आखिरी रात गुजारी थी. आखिरी रात before being raised to the sky. وَرَافِيُكَ, what's the ayat of the Quran? وَرَافِيُكَ إِلَيَّ وَمُطَهِّرُكَ, that Allah has raised you to the sky. So all the Isa alayhi salatu wasalam's Hawariyun were in this area before he was raised to the sky. Interesting thing, the one on the left side, just for your information, is the qabr on the left side of this church is the qabr of the grandson of Umar radiallahu anhu. The grandson of Umar radiallahu anhu, his name was Abdul Rahman, is buried on the left side. This is the footprint of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam before he was raised to the sky, right? That's what the Christians say, that this is where the footprint of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is, the one in the middle. And the one on the right side, the minaret, is towards the end of time, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam ka wahan nuzul hoga. That's what, according to one riwayat, one qawl, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam will come down, and then the qabristan in between is a qabristan which is right across Masjid Al Aqsa. When he comes down, then he will cross over that and he will enter into Masjid Al Aqsa, the door of Masjid Al Aqsa. So that is one riwayat, one narration. That in the middle is the footsteps of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. The one on the right side is the nuzul of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So the place where he was raised is the place where he will come down. So that's the picture of Masjid Al Aqsa and the tower where he's going to come down, and then he's going to cross over and he will enter into Masjid Al Aqsa. So this picture on the right side is taken from Masjid Al Aqsa facing that tower. Okay. Watini was Zaytun, Waturi Sini. Mount Olives is where the qabr of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu is. On the right side, for Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu ki qabr hai. And the one on the left side is the picture from Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu towards Masjid Al-Aqsa. So bahut qareeb hai Masjid Al-Aqsa or Mount Olives, Watini was Zaytun, and the qabr of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu. Also, this is where it is believed in the city of Lud. In the hadith is mentioned that Isa ibn Maryam, meaning Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, he will assassinate Dajjal. Behind this structure is where Isa alayhi salatu wasalam and Dajjal, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam will assassinate Dajjal, and then after that the justice will prevail as mentioned in the hadith. The story of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam and Dawud alayhi salatu wasalam, this is where it is believed that from here was the place where Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam observed the jinns building Masjid Al Aqsa. That the ayat of the Quran that are recited, فَلَمَّا خَرَّ تَبَيَّنَتِ الْجِنُّ أَنْ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ الْغَيْبَ مَا لَبِثُوا فِي الْعَذَابِ الْمُهِينِ. The incident took place, according to one narration, is from here. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and his progeny. So there is an area, it's called Al-Khalid. We all know Al-Khalid, and Al-Khalid was the laqab which was given to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So Sari Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam ki family here is buried in this masjid. This is a masjid. It's not a house, it's a masjid. Or the one on the left side right here is the qabr of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. The one in the middle is the qabr of his wife Sarah alayhi salatu wasalam. And the one on the right side is maqam of other prophets. Can't really see exactly very closely. But the entire family of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is buried in this masjid called Al-Khalid. Now, there is a downstairs to this masjid. And the downstairs to this masjid is the qabr of another prophet. And that is the prophet of Allah, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam is also buried downstairs in the same masjid. On top of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, on the bottom is Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. That's the one on the left. They close the gate, they lock the gate, and then when you go visit upstairs, then they also take you downstairs. Also, the one on the right side, ye kya hai? The one on the right side, can anybody guess? Yes?
Under Prophet Yusuf, under his house.
Under his, yeah?
Buried.
When Prophet Yusuf was small, when he was a baby, what happened to him? What happened to Prophet Yusuf? Yeah?
Is that the well?
He was thrown in the well. That's the well, the one on the right side. It's on the border of Palestine and on the border of Egypt. And that's when he grows up and he becomes the minister of Egypt, Misr. And so that's where the incident took place. You know, Canaan was the area. That's the Canaan area. And the whole incident of the brothers, they came in Maghrib. وَجَاءُوا أَبَاهُمْ عِشَاءً يَبْكُونَ قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا إِنَّا ذَهَبْنَا نَسْتَبِقُ وَتَرَكْنَا يُوسُفَ عِنْدَ مَتَاعِنَا فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. A wolf came and attacked Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. We were just racing, we were running. And then the whole fake story that the brothers made out of hasad and out of jealousy. So that's where the well of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam. There is just so much La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. The dua of Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam. Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam is qabr hai. The one on the right side is a picture of what? What is this picture of?
The Red Sea.
The ocean, the Red Sea. And that's where Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam was thrown in the well and he was eaten up by the big fish, right? And then he spent some time in there and then he made the dua, La ilaha illa anta subhanak, inni kuntu min al-zalimin, and after that he came out from the stomach of the fish. So now you can tell, you can put two and two together. The one on the right side is the ocean, the one on the left side is the qabr of Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam. Musa alayhi salatu. There's so many prophets. You can go prophets after prophets. There's a qabr of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam as well. And وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. You can see it, which is written on his qabr. Very interesting. When you enter into his qabr, there is a hadith. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam ki qabr jo hai, usme dakhil hote hi darwaze pe, on the right side is the hadith. That's the hadith. What is the hadith? An Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. An Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu قال أرسل ملك الموت إلى موسى عليه الصلاة والسلام. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ने मूसा अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम की तरफ मलकुल मौत को भेजा. Allah sent मलकुल मौत to Musa अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम. فلما جاءه, when मलकुल मौत came to him, सक्कहु. Musa अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम slapped him. Musa अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम told him, go back, I don't want to die. So قال أرسلتني إلى عبد لا يريد الموت. So Malakul Maut said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Allah, you sent me to a individual who doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to pass away. So قال ارجع إليه فقل له يضع يده على متن ثوب فله بما غطت يده بكل شعرة حسنة. That tells Musa that if he wants to live longer, that he needs to put his hand on a sheep and grab hold of the hair of the sheep. The amount of hair that comes in his hand, equivalent to that, 1 year of extension to his life will be granted. 1 year of extension to his life will be granted. Now imagine Malakul Maut comes to us and says, Allah give you this option. You can put your hand on top of a sheep and Allah will give you long life after that. So you will say, I don't want to hold it with one hand, I want to hold it with two hands. So over here, بِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ سَنَةٍ, that for 1 year, one hair, you will be given extension. So أَيْ رَبِّي مَاذَا, what after that? Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said that after this time period is finished, then what's going to happen after this? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that after this time period is finished, then you will pass away. Eventually, you're going to have to pass away. So then Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said, قَالَ فَالْآنَ, then rather you take me now. Rather you take me now. قَالَ فَسَأَلَ اللَّهُ أَنَّ مَدِينَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ الْمُقَدَّسَةِ بِحِجْرٍ. قال أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه لو كنت بقبره إلى جانب الطور تحت الكثير. So Prophet ﷺ said to to Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that the signs where Musa ﷺ is buried is where there is a lot of red sand. So if you go to this area, you'll see that Musa ﷺ is buried around, surrounded by red sand. So this was an interesting incident that took place. The point is, everybody's going to have to pass away one day. All the prophets passed away, all the Sahaba radiallahu anhu passed away. So we all have to also pass away and prepare for the eventual, for the last day. Al-mawtu ka'sun wa kullu nasi sharibuhu, al-mawtu babun wa kullu nasi dakhiluhu. That's what the Arabic poet says. Islamic conquest of Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu, we all know he conquered Masjid Al Aqsa and the keys were given to Umar radiallahu anhu. And then after that, the justice prevailed. Umar radiallahu anhu was a very simple man. He came from Medina to Masjid Al Aqsa and he was taking turns with his servant. And just before he entered into Masjid Al Aqsa, he also fell down in ditch. His clothes got dirty, and Sahaba came, Shurahbil ibn Hassan and many Sahaba. They said, oh, you put on the new clothes, you're going to the patriarchs, the big rabbis of Masjid Al Aqsa, they're going to give you keys. This is a very historical moment. Umar radiallahu anhu said that Allah gave us izzah and He gave us honor because of Islam. Right? Allah gives honor to us, to the ummah, because of deen. When we follow deen and the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah gives us deen. Nonetheless, Umar radiallahu anhu now takes the keys of Masjid Al Aqsa and he wanted to pray 2 rakah salatul shukr to thank Allah. So they said, okay, you can pray here. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, no, I don't want to take the keys in the church, because he took the keys in the church and they requested him to pray in the church. So he said, no, because if I pray in the church, Muslims are going to come later on and they will claim this church to be a masjid. So I want to go far away. So he went a few meters away from the church and he prayed there. A few hundred years later, Muslims came and the place where Umar radiallahu anhu prayed became the masjid. So you see the one on the left side, Masjid Al Aqsa. Masjid of Umar, the mosque of Umar radiallahu anhu. So that was the incident. This whole history that I mentioned is something that Muslims, whenever they took over Masjid Al Aqsa, right? Because Masjid Al Aqsa, way in the beginning, like I mentioned, in the time of Prophet ﷺ, was ruled by the Romans. And then after that, Umar radiallahu anhu took over Masjid Al Aqsa. Then 800 years or 900 years later, Muslims were, in Masjid Al-Aqsa, no problem. The Jews, the Christians, everybody was allowed to pray. Justice was there. No church were destroyed. No synagogues were destroyed. No Yahudi, no Nasrani was killed. Everybody was living in peace. And then after that, who came and took over Masjid Al-Aqsa? The genocide that we face right now. In history, genocide was also faced by the Muslims of Masjid Al-Aqsa. At the time when Salahuddin Ayyubi took over Masjid Al-Aqsa, when he took over. But before that, who had conquered Masjid Al-Aqsa? The Crusades, the European Christians, they came and they took over Masjid Al-Aqsa for 88 years. For 88 years, European Jews, European Christians, they came and they took over Masjid Al-Aqsa. And then after that, slowly, what happened? Then a dynasty was born. A dynasty was born. And who was the founder of the dynasty? Imaduddin Zangi. Then Nuruddin Zangi, his son. And then after that came Salahuddin Ayyubi from the Ayyubi dynasty. So he was a commander, a youngster. But before that, 88 years of genocide that the Muslims were facing, they didn't lose hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because 150,000 Muslims were massacred. Today we talk about the people of Gaza and 11,000, 12,000, 5,000 children have passed away. At that time, 150,000 Muslims were massacred. 150,000 Muslims. But one thing that was very important, and which is also very important now, and we connect it back to the history, is that the Muslims didn't lose hope. Muslims didn't lose hope. And the ulama of those times were talking about the virtues of Masjid Al-Aqsa. Virtues of Masjid Al-Aqsa. So when there's a long story, we don't have time, but inshallah. What time is it? 6 o'clock. The dinner is going to be served, right? In a few minutes? Okay. So I'm going to, inshallah, wrap up. Don't want to go into too much detail. But I would urge you to read up on the life of Salahuddin Ayyubi and what actually encouraged Salahuddin Ayyubi to go and take over Masjid Al-Aqsa. It's not that he was sleeping and he woke up and then he go and take over Masjid Al-Aqsa. There's a whole history, and that history is of 100 years. Because Salahuddin Ayyubi took over Masjid Al-Aqsa in 1187. But Crusades, they took over Masjid Al-Aqsa 88 years before that in 1098. In 1098 was when Crusades came and took over Masjid Al-Aqsa. So what happened between 1098 and 1187 was when Salahuddin Ayyubi took over. This history in between, you go and you do research and you read about that. Then comes all the way down to the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was collapsed by World War I, World War II. The Balfour Declaration, you should go and read up on the Balfour Declaration. And then after that, the birth of Zionism and the birth of Israel in 1948. 1947, the partition between India and Pakistan took place. 1948, the birth of Israel and the birth of Zionism. You should go and read up on that also. Lastly, to finish, the one on the left side, up until before 1948, the green is Palestine. This green is Palestine. Very famous map, you have seen it. online as well. This was almost 90, 80, 95% actually, I would say, was Palestine and the Muslims. And then comes what happens, United Nations Plan 1947. They divided up, 55% went to Muslims, 45% went to the Jews, right? The Jews of Germany, they came in, the European Jews, they started coming in, they started migrating first, 5 ships, 10 ships, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and over time, United Nations divided, goes to, all of a sudden they just came in, the Jews will get the land. The settlers were brought in from outside, the Muslims were removed, they were pushed out. So 45% went to the Yahud, 55% went to the Muslims. But now again, 1949 to 1967, that 55% which belonged to the Muslims, although it was wrong, right? It started shrinking. From 55%, it went down to 25%. Now comes by 2005. 2005, majority, the white that you see all on the right side is something that is taken over by the Jews. But most of it now, the Muslims have this 20% or so land. Now slowly over time, when you land in Tel Aviv airport and you drive down, the entire West Bank, the settlers are brought in from outside, right, who have no clue what they're doing. They're just moving into the random Muslim's house. The Muslim families are taken out, and then the settlers are put in. So what we can do, inshallah, is, this is the whole history, what we can do is make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mawlana Ashraf Ali Thamri rahmatullahi, he mentioned Masjid Al Aqsa is actually haram. In Islam, we have 3 harams: Makkatul Mukarramah, Madinatul Munawwara, and Masjid Al Aqsa. These are 3 haram. Right? Now, since it's a haram, it's the responsibility of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect Masjid Al Aqsa. Don't get into too much detail of when Imam Mahdi is going to come and Dajjal is going to come and all that stuff. Focus on your connection and your taqwa with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What he said basically is our guna and our sins can have an effect there. So try to be a good Muslim, try to be a Muslim who follows the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to pray as much as you can, come to the masjid, establish connection. Make it a point of becoming somebody who memorizes the Quran, somebody who becomes alim, and connect back with the Imam of the masjid and ask him and take guidance from him. And inshallah, these are the things we need. Future leaders. We need a modern day Salahuddin Ayyubi. We want who? A modern day Salahuddin. What was the Salahuddin Ayyubi? 1187. Who's going to be the Salahuddin Ayyubi in 2023? That's what we need. We need people to have the desire for Masjid Al Aqsa. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spread awareness, pray salah, do istighfar, do tawbah, sadaqah, donation, dua, and all of that, recitation of the Quran. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. These are the things that we can do. Inshallah, a person cannot be sleeping through Fajr and he's sipping on coffee and kahwa and saying, oh Allah, send your nusra, send your help. Well, we're not doing our job. Our job is first to pray salah, to connect back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the nusra and the help of Allah will come. So what it is that the things that we take from this, inshallah, is number 1, make it a point of visiting Masjid Al Aqsa as soon as it's safe to do so. Number 2, keep the virtues of Masjid Al Aqsa alive in your heart. That's number 2. And number 3, inshallah, talk about the virtues of Masjid Al Aqsa and be optimistic, be hopeful in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we do these things, inshallah, Allah's nusra, Allah's assistance will come. With this, we finish. Jazakumullah khair. I'm sorry if I took extra time. I went over. I apologize for that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our work together. Wa akhir da'wana.
Jazakumullah khairan. Sheikh, mashallah, very informative presentation. May Allah accept, inshallah, rahman. So now, inshallah, we're going to have dinner. And dinner will be served, inshallah, in those new classes. So from now, inshallah, we go out towards our left, inshallah, and dinner will be there. And after dinner, inshallah, Salatul Isha. Jazakumullah khairan.